To the Property Point Attacq 2021 graduation ceremony. Today we are celebrating the class of 2020 who have overcome one of the most challenging times in our world's history to succeed through this rigorous program. Ladies and gentlemen, even though we cannot be with you in person today, we hope that you have found a comfortable place to sit and that you are sitting close to your goodie boxes with those delicious treats, as well as your ice bucket, champagne, and glasses, because we will be raising a toast later on this evening. I will be your host tonight. My name is Debo Marite, and my co-host is Mr. Hannes Stein, who most of you know and love, and that you are the program manager working alongside with Attacq, as well as your ice bucket, champagne, Mr. Hannes Stein, because this is a big day for you later on this evening. I will be your host tonight. My name is Debo Marite, and my co-host is Mr. Hannes Stein. We hope most of you know and love, and that you are the program manager working alongside with Attacq, as well as your ice bucket, champagne, Mr. Hannes Stein, because this is a big day for you later on this evening. I will be your host tonight. My name is Debo Marite, and my co-host is Mr. Hannes Stein. We hope most of you know and love, and that you are the program manager working alongside with Attacq, as well as
and I want to take this opportunity to welcome the Attacq team, including the executive team, Mel Haman, the CEO, Jackie van Diekerk, the incoming CEO, and also Raj Nana, the CFO, as well as our other members of Attacq that is also joining. And then obviously a very warm welcome and a special welcome to see David Vermeulen and Shoki Poto that has been engaging with us from the start. What a formidable man to work with and understanding the space. So Danny, thank you so much for your attendance as well. And last but not least, David Vermeulen and Shoki Poto that has been last but not least,
okay, we're going to take it from the top of the stage. We had a slight technical glitch. We're going to go from the top. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Attacq and Property Point graduation 2021. Today we are celebrating the class of the year 2021. We're going to start chanting. Okay, we're going to take it from the top of the stage. We had a slight technical glitch. Ladies and gentlemen, we may not see you evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Attacq and Property Point graduation 2021. Today we are celebrating the class of the year 2021. We're going to start chanting. Okay, we're going to take it from the top of the stage. We had a slight technical glitch. Ladies and gentlemen, we may not see you evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Attacq and Property Point graduation 2021. Today we are celebrating the class of the year 2021. We're going to start chanting. Okay, we're going to take it from the top of the stage. We had a slight technical glitch. Ladies and gentlemen, we may not see you evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Attacq and Property Point graduation 2021. Today we are celebrating the class of the year 2021. We're going to start chanting. Okay, we're going to take it from the top of the stage. We had a slight technical glitch. Ladies and gentlemen, we may not see you evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Attacq and Property Point graduation 2021. Today we are celebrating the class of the year 2021. We're going to start chanting. Okay, we're going to take it from the top of the stage. We had a slight technical glitch. Ladies and gentlemen, we may not see you evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Attacq and Property Point graduation.
Of the show tonight, and that is the graduation class of 2020. You are so welcome tonight. Enjoy this evening with us. I just want to wave. I cannot see you, but you can see us. So welcome. Let's enjoy, but let's celebrate tonight in this great event, in this occasion. Thank you.
Hannes, I think between the two of us, we have at least 10 years of experience walking the journey of working with entrepreneurs and developing entrepreneurs, but also walking the journey with some really incredible partners. We have stories to tell that could keep us here the whole night. We have stories of successes. We have stories of some really, really difficult times, not taking for granted what we are just starting to come out of. If we reflect back, and you know, on nights like these, it's always great to just take a second to look back on how far we've come. Do you remember 2014, and do you remember that very first intake?
I can certainly remember 2014 and the start in 2015 with Danny and that special interesting group from Newtown in Towel, where we started with the 10 businesses. And I can tell you most of them were very much in Danny's office and in my office to help them and to support them. And yes, we've been doing this for some time. And it's been a great, well, I'm very grateful to be part of this journey with the businesses. And since 2014, we've graduated 35 businesses, wow. And they've created 421 jobs and counting.
That's incredible.
But the thing is, as we reflect on this evening, it's very important to understand that these businesses has really, the theme for tonight is You know, keep climbing together. Keep climbing together. And this is exactly what these businesses have done. You know, they have buckled down, they have pushed on, and I saw many times saying to the businesses, hustling on, they have pushed on through challenging times, because that's business. And we are so proud of them. And we're very excited in 2014, you know, to partner with Attacq in this great transformation entrepreneurial model that has done so much for these businesses, and also to not just the businesses but the households.
Yeah.
Because there's a human being, there's a mother, there's a father, just you know, behind the business, and that was so great, you know, to journey with these guys since 2014.
Yeah, that's right, Hannes. And I mean, really, it's an incredible achievement, especially that jobs created of 421 jobs. That figure is amazing, especially because currently our country is in an unemployment crisis.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it. Things are really, really difficult. And so for us to be sitting here and celebrating these businesses is really amazing. They have also generated over, I beg your pardon, over 204 million rand in revenue between now and 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, these numbers that we're talking about are not just numbers. These are businesses sustained, these are mouths fed, and this is truly transformation in action. You know, Hannes, when we started Property Point 12 years ago, we had a really big dream. And the dream was to build sustainable, small businesses that could contribute to the economic trajectory of our country. But we wanted to build businesses that could go toe-to-toe with the big guys and not just go against them, but win. And not only just win, Hannes, but we wanted businesses that were going to win on merit and that were going to be known for providing a high-quality product.
That's good.
So from those humble beginnings in 2008, where we had only 3 businesses generating under 4 million rand a year, and with Growth Point Properties, our founding partner, as our only partner, we have grown and have generated over 1.5 billion rand towards our country's GDP. We have also brought on board an incredible amount of partners, both in the public sector and the private sector. We have brought on the Department of Small Business Development. We have Attacq as part of our family. We also have Fortress REIT Limited, Pareto Limited, the Public Investment Corporation, SA REIT, the Property Sector Charter Council. I mean, the list goes on, Hannes, and I'm sure we are only beginning to grow. So this really is a testament to the fact that this model works.
That's correct. You know, as you've mentioned these numbers, you know, it's just really almost chilling, but it gives one goosebumps, you know, if you hear those numbers. But we need to remember, you know, it's not an easy journey for the businesses. You know, it's really those mountains, and I'm really emphasizing mountains that they have to climb one by one, 2 by 2. They have to climb these mountains, but with partners, with people, with a support structure, with partners, with advisors next to them, so that they can, you know, that picture that they have of their future, that can realize. So it's pretty much climbing the mountain, right, with partners, with people that are supporting, to reach that specific end and that picture that they so dearly want and looking towards.
Absolutely, and I think when they get there, it is always worth it. As you mentioned partnerships, and as you mentioned all the people that have to gather around these businesses for them to make it, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to watch a short clip from the founder of Property Point, the man who started it all. It was supposed to be a master's paper, and turns out it became this incredible organization which has changed so many lives and so many businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sean Tennyson.
we want to acknowledge the businesses tonight. So it's really my privilege to acknowledge the 8 businesses that form part of this latest cohort and the graduation class of 2020. And I'm going to start acknowledging the businesses, the 3 businesses in the Western Cape, and then the other businesses in Gauteng area. So Muache and Joseph from Ole Bogen Quantity Surveyors all the way from the Western Cape. We've got Jesse and Kelecho Yende from Taste My Waffle, also all the way from the Western Cape. And then Laika Sasman from the Lasaka Group in the Western Cape. And the businesses here in Gauteng would be Brini from ABV Construction, Viray Shaba from Green Design, Munyatsi Rekotso from Solvo Environmental Consultants, Rachel from Manhove Construction, and last but not least, Vishal from Igdari Glass and Aluminium. And these businesses, and I'm going to share with you just some stats of these businesses, and they've done so well. And understanding, even before COVID, even before lockdown, there was this challenge in the economy, in the industry, and these businesses really hustled through and buckled through. So the median average revenue growth for this business was 68%. Wow. Contracts accessed over 26 million rand. Total jobs created 78 jobs created, full-time jobs created. Total revenue over the 2 years for this cohort just above 151 million rand. So we want to congratulate this special group of businesses that has really done so well. And we will do some special awards later on. So keep on tuning, enjoying it with us. And it is great to be with you and to share this moment with you.
Those numbers were incredible, Mr. Steyn. We're going to go back and quickly play that clip of the founder of Property Point, Mr. Sean Tennyson.
So later on, so keep on tuning, enjoying it with us. And it is great.
Good day, my name is Sean Jennison and I'm the founder of Property Point. SAPOA Convention 2014. Property Point was exhibiting, and it was a chance meeting between an Attacq executive that came to the Property Point stand inquiring about what we're all about. And that engagement led to this partnership. Attacq really had the foresight to say that they don't want to reinvent the wheel. They want to rather small businesses. There's a need to be able to revive the economy and support small businesses. And Property Point has become that vehicle over the past 12 years. And that engagement, the need that Attacq had at that point in time was really to diversify. We need the industry as a whole. We need everyone to be able to come together in order for us to really make that transformational change and support the little guys, because it's the little guys that become the big guys one day. It's the little guys, small businesses that are the job creators out there. We've truly come together from a broader industry perspective to support small businesses. My wish for the graduating class of 2020 everyone to be able to come together in order for us to persevered through make that transformational change. Most probably the little guys, rock bottom in your business, that become the big guys one day. Keep your eyes on the prize. Small businesses that what is your summit that you want to be able to achieve? Truly don't give up now from a broader industry perspective. You can see your summit. Continue forward. My wish for the graduating class of 2020 rather rely on the help that's out there. You have rely on the likes of make that transformation. We want to congratulate you guys now for what you have done. I think through the tough times, keep your eyes. It hasn't always been easy. What is your summit? But you have persevered. You want to be able to achieve. And well done now from a broader industry because you can see your summit. Continue forward. My wish for the graduating class of 2020 rather rely on the help that's out there. You have rely on the likes of make that transformation. We want to congratulate you guys now for what you have done. I think through the tough times, keep your eyes. It hasn't always been easy. What is
the CEO of Attacq to say a few words to these businesses. Thank you, Mel.
While we wait for Mel Taman to come onto the stage, I think kind of those words from Sean were actually just so moving, you know. Are we ready to go? Okay, I'll do my summary right after Mr. Taman.
Apologies that I was a bit late. I didn't realize that I had to accept my invite electronically. But thanks for hosting the evening. Sean, thanks for your words. I think a bigger thanks is for you being the founder of Property Point. You've definitely made a huge impact in the property industry. Also, like you said, it's a celebration tonight. It's a fun evening. I've never had any type of fun evening, but this is definitely a fun evening. Thanks for hosting. So I'm going to give a couple of ideas that I'm going to leave on the table. I'm going to talk to the changes that we as an industry, that we as Attacq have experienced in 2020. I mean, 2020 was an unbelievable year, unbelievable abnormal year. So I'm going to talk a bit to that. I'm going to touch on values, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the future. So if we go back to 2020, and I take my hat off for all our participants. I mean, if you've survived 2020, then you have done extremely well. If you've generated a turnover of 151 million, then I mean it's unbelievable. So I take my hat off for all of you. But maybe if we look at 2020 from a property industry viewpoint, there was a shift between, for us as listed entity, from shareholders to stakeholders. So in the past, we used to pay dividends and the shareholders was happy. And in the past, the dividends used to grow with, let's say, close to inflation, and your shareholders were happy. And then COVID hit us. And then what we have realized with COVID, it's more than only shareholders. And we use the word stakeholders. I've noticed that in some of the documents, we're using the word community, but that's exactly what has happened. So as a company, you had to press pause and you say, you know what, it's more than only about shareholders. We have to look after our tenants. We have to look after our suppliers, our staff, our lenders, and councils, and so I can continue. So that was definitely a shift that has happened with 2020. And if you ask me, I think it's a structural shift, and that shift will be with us forever. And like I said, that shift is, it's not only about dividends. It's about looking after your community, looking after your stakeholders. The point I want to make is also talking to industry is the fact that none of you are alone. All of us are in the same boat. All of us survived the storm. We are unfortunately not yet at the end of the storm. I mean, my colleagues who's on the call, they definitely know this expression of the expression I use quite frequently. I talk to the BC world and the ACDC world. So the BC world is before COVID, and the ACDC world is after COVID, during COVID. And COVID hit all of us just more than a year ago, and then we were in the storm. I think most of us said to ourselves, hopefully we're going to be at the end of the storm. For some odd reason, it's a date we've picked, December 2020, and coming back 1st of Jan, it will be over. And unfortunately, it's not over. If you ask me, my gut tells me we at towards the back end of a storm, and then we will move into this after COVID world. And a lot of people are referring to the after COVID world as the new norm. And I think that is the challenge. As we sit here tonight, we don't know what that new norm is, what it will look like. But the reality is we've survived during COVID, we at the end of a storm, and again, if you look at the numbers, we've done extremely well. Maybe just also to quantify, because sometimes it's good to look at rand and cents, the impact of COVID on the property industry. So what I did, I took the top 19 listed companies, and the top 19 listed companies just before COVID had an average market cap of 16 billion. And then March 2020, in the beginning of COVID, that 16 billion reduced to 7 billion. So on average, the listed entities have lost 55% of their value. Again, it talks to the concept that we are not alone. Even if you're a small supplier or a big supplier or a listed entity like a, okay, I shouldn't mention the names, but like a Growth Point or Redefine or Fortress or Attacq, you have lost value. However, we're in the recovery phase. We are at the end of a storm, and we should, like Sean used the word summit, we should dream our summit, and we must chase that summit that we have set for ourselves. Point I want to make, I'm going to conclude on my little bit of a change, and then I'm going to talk to values. Point I want to make is we are not alone. We've survived the storm. We are at the end of a storm, and there is definitely a recovery phase. Talking to values, and I've also picked it up in the invite that you've sent us, you've used the word collaboration, you've used the word community, sustainability, transformation. And those are all words that we as Attacq and Property Point can relate to. Talking about collaboration, sustainability, it's two of the Attacq company values. For us, collaboration talks about an evening like this. It talks about sharing ideas, listening to your suppliers, assisting your suppliers, creating that community. So we can definitely associate ourselves with the concept of community collaboration. And like I said, that was also one of the impacts out of 2020, that coming back to my expression, you're not alone. You have to operate in this village environment, in this community environment. Sustainability, for us as Attacq, it's more than only the green elements of a property. Sustainability for us is looking after the future, not only at the future, also after the future. And the concept that we do have with regards to sustainability is the concept of you have to dream. Us as individuals, us as leading a company, us as the shareholder of a company. So you have to dream, and then you must, and part of dream from a business viewpoint talks to the concept of a strategy. So you must have a strategy. And in articulating your strategy, you have to take the macro environment into account. And like I said, the macro environment for 2020 was extremely tough. So you have to dream strategy, you need that plan, and then what you need to do, you need to execute on your plan. You should not have a plan and put it in your top drawer. You have to execute on your decisions. So that talks to sustainability. Coming to the last word, transformation. And reading there behind Hannes, there we say Property Point, transforming the industry. I know that 2 years ago I had a similar, or I also had to present, and when I've Googled a bit on transformation, and the definition by Wikipedia was you're making a difference or sustainable difference in the lives of, let's say, people that you do touch. And that's exactly what all of you have done. You have made a difference. I think from Sean 14 years ago of having the idea, up until all of you who's been part of this process, part of this educational process, part of building up your skill set, you have made a difference. I mean, talking about jobs we've created, Hannes, you've quoted the number 421 jobs in 7 years. The current intake have created 78 jobs. I mean, we have made a difference. Talking about the future, and I'm gonna conclude with talking about the future. Again, one of my sayings is 2020 was a year with uncertainty, and uncertainty creates anxiety. 2021, what we are trying to do is we're trying to focus on certainty. And then my latest saying is that clarity creates confidence. And if you ask me, and I've got 6 bullet points, and I'm going to conclude on my 6 bullet points. Point number 1 is we are not alone. And I mean, we have survived, call it the eye of a storm. We're at the back end of a storm. We're not alone. You have to dream, like Sean has said, imagine that summit that you have to climb. You have to build your plan in order to make your dream a success. And then, like I said, execute on that plan. 2 final points I want to make is you must also bear in mind that you have to focus on what you can control. The reality is we can't control GDP, we can't control inflation. However, we can create jobs, we can create opportunities, we can improve our sales if we provide an excellent service to our customers. So point I want to make is focus on what you can control. My last saying for the evening is, let's create clarity, because clarity creates confidence, and that's what we need in SA. So Hannes, over to you.
Thank you, Mal. Thank you for that words from Mal Taman, the outgoing CEO of Attacq. Thank you, Mal. It's been a good relationship with you, and we surely will have fond memories, Sean and myself. So thank you so much for that. And over to you.
Thank you, Hannes. I mean, that was just so inspiring, and I think Mark really did help us to put things into perspective. And I think that last point about focusing on what you can do, and not on the scary things that are happening all around us or the things that are going to cause anxiety, but what can you do inside your own business with your own team, with the resources that you have to help you get through and get to the other side. And I also like what he said, that if your business is still standing and if you're still here, the battle is half won. And now it's about getting to the next and the next and the next. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mrs. Jackie Fanika, who is the incoming CEO of Attacq, to say a few words to our graduating class of 2020.
Hello, can everyone hear me and see me? Good evening, everyone. Thank you. And firstly, good evening to everyone. Most importantly, to the honored guests, the graduates that's walked the road with Property Point and with Attacq, to the Property Point team for the road that you've worked with Attacq, and to our team in Attacq and our colleagues in Attacq, good evening to everyone. You'll see that I've got my screensaver on, and I've got a little logo on one side called the Sky Risers, and this is a logo that's done with one of the graduates, and we carry it very proud. It's our new launch for the year in Attacq. We call ourselves the Sky Risers, where we have fun, we grow, we build, we cluster a journey. And it is just to illustrate to the graduates the impact of your work that it has on our company, and the value we bring on the work that has been done with these graduates over the year. And I wish I could demonstrate all of the work that we have seen with all the graduates over this year. But Jessie, thank you for this. This is a graphic designer, a graduate for this year, and I thought I'll showcase some of your work. So I'll give you some free ads also here tonight. So thank you for that. But the value that each and every one of you that brought to Attacq, what we have learned, what my team has learned, and what they've brought through to us, we learn equally as much from you than you learn from us. And we thank you for that. And we're also starting off with saying, thank you for putting yourself out there, for raising your hand and saying, you know what, I want to grow my business and I want to contribute towards South Africa and building a better country. And I'm going to touch off where Malta's almost ended. And last year, we went through this global uncertainty. We sat with near-term, almost just survival mode. In beginning of the year, we were in strat mode. We were on roadshow, and we were, what is life going to bring us? And then we went from strategic into survival mode. You stop everything, and you actually don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We looked at each other, and we went from growth to risk. We went from closeness to distance, and now hugging. And we kept on asking ourselves, and Mel just said, we thought this magic date, December 31st, COVID will be gone. It's just this year, just keep through it. And then we went through this second wave, hotspot areas, and we said, when is normal going to come back? When are we going to hug? When are we going to be back in the office? When are we going to see our colleagues? When is there going to be a rugby game or a cricket match or a soccer match? When is this economy going to return? And tonight, my message to everyone is, I don't think we're ever going to go back to normal. And has normal not always been changing? And what do we do in our businesses? And how do we live? And as Malta's very beautifully said, the post-COVID world, how do we evolve? And how do we keep our businesses evolving to enable to adapt, not just to survive, but thrive through these times? And that's certainly something that I've personally learned in these times. We have seen our resilience and efficiencies, and we kept on asking ourselves, how shockproof is our business? Can we handle it? Is there enough liquidity in our business? What is the supply chain is changing? We can't get steel. What are we going to do? Are we going to build our buildings? Will contractors finish on time? Mel talk about shareholder value changed in deeper stakeholder value. It's about our community. It's about saving a business and not collecting the rent. It's about saving a job, not closing the doors. And what have all this brought? It's online shopping. Will people come back to the office in the real estate industry? How do we build buildings of the future? How do we build cities of the future? And Generation Z, they call the lost generation. How do we instill values? And how do we do more with less? And I think that's when my mind started changing and saying, normal will always keep on changing. And how do we adapt with normal? And there's four things that in Attaq and personally in my own life that I want to leave with you guys today is to say, we have to keep transforming strategically in our business. Every day is changing. The normal will keep on changing. So in your business, your landscape will change. Technology will change. Behavior of people. We've seen our shoppers' behavior has changed from 5 days a week in the mall to 1 day a week. So hopefully you spend more. So how do we change our mall setup to accommodate, to capture the shopper's spend? And then in your business, how do you make sure that your strategic differentiating factor keeps being normal? Mm-hmm. How do we transform in deal making? Because if we don't sell our business, if we don't promote our business, if we're not client facing, and now we have to be client facing virtually, how do you do it? How do you adapt to it? How do you keep on selling your business? And what is the specialness that you sell in your business? And we've learned in Attaq, we had to understand our clients. We had to listen. We had to be less and be more and solving problems and be creative in our problem solving. And we've seen how the collaborative approach that we've applied, we're definitely seeing the winnings of tenants saying, we want to stay with Attaq because in the hard times they could understand and they listened to the problems that we had. Then creating sustainable long-term value. We've been in short-term survival, medium-term is the recovery, and the future is the growth. But always keeping your eye on what is to come and where do we take our business towards. And every step that we take now will always need to have what's your prize and how do we sustainably do it? How do we create communities? And this is where Property Point and the work that Sean and you guys are doing is so valuable. Is saying how do we create communities that is uplifting? How do we make sure that it's a circular economy, that we embrace our community that shops with us, the community that that helps our our precincts thrive, and for us it's a very, very big focus in Attaq. And then lastly is And my last message is that we've also learned in Attacq is be open for these ideas, be open for the normal to change, and don't be scared. And as Malta said, the AC/DC world, you know, the after COVID world, be adaptable, change, embrace it. You know, so take your changing normal. Make sure that you make your business, you grow your business, you recover, you survive, you build, and you continue to create a sustainable business. And with that, I would like to congratulate each and every one of you guys for sticking through this hard year, for making it work, for really bringing it all. You know, changing a program that is so beautiful and, you know, in person, online, you know, and sticking it out. And, you know, I love the thought of this year of climbing this mountain. Because if you climb this mountain, and I've got this amazing idea, I really want to climb one day, you know, Mount Everest, but my husband always keeps on saying no. And I always see this, you know, this peak, and I see the fog. And we definitely seeing the peak through the fog, through what we have survived these days. And you know, when the chips are down, and it might not be COVID, it might be in your business or in your family, just remember, through the fog, there's always a peak and the sun will always shine. So thank you, congratulations, and thank you to the Attacq team, Danny, and for all the hard work, to our colleagues that you've put into this, you know, into this program. And we are proud supporters, Property Point team. So thank you very much.
Sure, Jackie, thank you so much. I think that's great advice, and you know, we are in a full agreement. You know that it's absolutely a new way of thinking. It's not just a new landscape. You know, us as humans, you know, you are being challenged to think creatively, to think out of the box. And the old is gone, the new has come, and we need to change. You know, and it's a transformation process. But you're also saying we cannot do it alone. You know, it's a co-creation process that we have to reach out as human beings and work together and in this new landscape and to achieve, and also to strategize. And I like the word creativity. I like the word, you know, how are we going to together create going forward. But thank you for that advice, Jackie. And we want to wish you all of the best on your journey as the new CEO of Attacq. And yes, we wish you all of the best. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you so much, Hannes. Our next speaker knows more about summiting mountains, certainly than perhaps me and you. I heard Jackie mentioning that she has always wanted to climb Mount Everest. I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Born into a working-class family in a township outside of Uitenhage, South Africa, Deshawn came into prominence in 1996 when selected to participate in South Africa's first ever Everest expedition. She has subsequently been on 13 high-altitude expeditions on 5 different continents. Deshawn is best known to South African public as one of the only black female high-altitude mountaineers in the world. She was a member of 2 South African expeditions to Mount Everest. The first South African expedition was in 1996, and the Discovery Everest expedition in 2003. Deshawn also holds a variety of other accolades. He also holds a higher diploma in education. Deshawn, we are so excited to hear from you. It's always a pleasure to be anywhere where you are. Over to you.
Young business owners are saying, why should we listen to a woman who climbed Everest in 1996? But you know, I promise you that the presentation I'm about to give you has a lot to do with all of the presentations that have just come up ahead. The talks about 2020 and how we had to weather the storm and how we had to come through it and keep our eye on the goal. And I think if you look back at the 1996 expedition, it literally had every aspect of what we're discussing here tonight. So thank you for having me, Tebogo, and the team. I'm a very good friend of Property Point. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I've seen some entrepreneur journeys. coming through your accelerator. And so it's really such a privilege for me to once again be here and be part of this momentous occasion. In many, many ways, tonight is the top of a summit. But as you'll soon find out, you know, there are lots of different summits, and sometimes on one mountain, it feels like you're on different summits as well. So without further ado, I'm going to share my presentation with you now so that we can get through. Hold on just a second, let me get it up. Just give me a minute, not a minute, just a few seconds to get my presentation up and running. Here we go. So my topic for tonight is tackling the summit. Sticking within the theme of what we're talking about. And for me, because I'm speaking to property entrepreneurs, I decided to use the term tackling the property summit, because really to still be in property and standing as you are now, for me is such an amazing thing, that you've weathered the storm and still to some degree experiencing the storm. So what I tend to do, as we South Africans do, we always want to know where people come from. And in my case, when I get asked about how I ended up climbing Everest, people always want to know where that started. So I'm going to indulge you with a little bit of a personal story before we talk about the actual climbing of the mountain itself. So I was born in Uitenhage in 1970 to a bricklayer dad, and my mum worked in the factory. She was a seamstress in Uitenhage, in Port Elizabeth, actually, in one of those factories. And in fact, at one stage, she had multiple jobs. It was just the way our reality was back in those days. You know, in the 70s, we were deep in the heart of apartheid legislation. Everything was separated. There were so few opportunities. We were so limited in what we could dream about the future. But luckily for me, I had these two grandparents that you see in the picture. So that's my grandmother in the picture, Lydia Johanna Victoria Gertsen. You don't have to remember that name. And next to her are stories, and stories that had nothing to do with our reality, stories that allowed us to dream, to think about the future, to project forward into what could be. Now, before I tell you how she influenced my life, I must just give you this quick story about my grandmother and the royal family. So if you look above my grandmother's head, you'll see a picture there of, it's not that clear at this point, but most people who see that picture will probably make the assumption that it is one of Queen Elizabeth when she was a young lady. And in fact, I think that was within her first year of reign, in trooping the colors uniform. And my grandmother was one of the young people who stood in the crowds in Port Elizabeth when the royal family came to visit. And, you know, she's just always had this incredible fascination with the royal family. Now, next to that picture of Queen Elizabeth is my uncle, my mum's brother, Martin Goliath, actually. And next to him, which you can't see on this picture, is actually a picture of Prince Philip, who had now sadly passed away at the age of 99. But there I was as a youngster, and in the dining room of my grandparents, there were these pictures, one of Queen Elizabeth, one of my uncle, and one of Prince Philip. So I'm sure you'll forgive me for thinking when I was growing up, I must have some connection to the British royal family. There must be family of some kind, you know. But anyway, how this royal family connection actually comes into play is that in the same week that Elizabeth became queen, Edmund Hillary and his Sherpa Tenzing Norgay became the first two people to climb to the summit of Mount Everest. And that all happened within the week that Queen Elizabeth was to be coronated. So as you can imagine, for the Commonwealth, for everyone connected to the royal family, this was incredibly big news. You know, we finally can show that there's something that the British Commonwealth can do that's a major success. And they saw this as some kind of omen, you know, of the British Empire and the Queen getting onto that throne. But for me, the story was so compelling because I constantly heard about Edmund Hillary. And in fact, so much so that I have a cousin called Hillary. She's in this picture. She's the little girl standing next to her brother. That's Hillary. And she was named because of Sir Edmund Hillary. So now you can see that this was no normal grandmother. This was a grandmother with huge influence in our lives. So I think on a subconscious level, I kind of knew that I can't aim for the royal thing. So I had to aim for the adventure thing. And somewhere in my childhood mind, mind. It was the idea that maybe one day I can climb Everest that kept me going. But now you must understand, in the 70s, you couldn't just go to the neighbors or anyone really. Nobody knew how to climb Everest. This thing was so far away. It was so remote. It was such a far concept for people. You couldn't just, in any community in South Africa, knock on a neighbor's door and say, excuse me, does anyone know how to climb Everest around here? We really had to find, or at least me, I had to find some things to hang this idea on, this fantasy of the future, if you wish, of climbing Everest one day. But it was also during this time that South Africa was going through some really hectic VUCA stuff. When I started school, the townships were burning. There were protests everywhere. We now have a term for this. It's called volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. But certainly when I started school, that's really what South Africa was going through. There was so much volatility. We are called Generation X because no one knew what's going to happen to this generation. Therefore, X, you can put anything in that X. It's the undefined. And so during this time is when actually this concept for me came alive, this idea of going into my mind, my fantasy, my concept of the future. So in spite of what happened on the outside, our external environment, somehow there was a very strong compass on the inside of me that helped me to focus on what I want to become one day in the future, in spite of all the protests and the townships and the volatility that we experienced in school in those days. But I had to find my inspiration somewhere. So somewhere along the line, my mom discovered that I loved Tintin. She knew I was an adventurous child. I was very curious, and she bought me these comics. Now, Tintin's name was Kefi back in those days, and I'm sure some of you still know him as Kefi, but to me it was Kefi and now he's Tintin. But he had this incredible adventure. Of all the ones he went on, he once went to the Himalaya to go and climb Everest, and he was looking for his little friend called Chang, and the whole thing just captured my imagination. And so Tintin made Everest become alive for me. But let me tell you what really sealed the deal for me. I finally found a female role model in the mountains. So I watched thousands of episodes of Heidi, and to this day, it just gives me a warm feeling in my chest when I hear that little jingle of Heidi ringing out. So just in a nutshell, sometimes we don't realize when we're in the middle of something, a storm, something volatile, something uncertain, something truly mind-bending, that is the exact time that we need to start really crafting a future concept of what we want to become. So it took about 17 years of incubating this fantasy that I finally got an opportunity to go to Mount Everest and see it with my own eyes. And that manifested in a way where there was one day, a Sunday afternoon, there was a newspaper article. In fact, it was the major news of the day that South Africa is finally sending a team to Mount Everest. And of course, for me, having nurtured the goal and the dream for such a long time, I was captivated. It hit me in the face that South Africa is going to send a team to Mount Everest. And of course, I wanted to find out, how do you do it? Who's involved, and how do I get hold of these people? So that's exactly what I did. I found an entry form and I filled it in, and we had to go through a selection process. And after 2,000 and somewhat women applied to this position to be on the Everest team as the female, 6 of us got shortlisted, and we had to go through a couple of climbs. Kilimanjaro was one of them, Mount Meru, and a few other climbs, and we had to be tested to see if we had what it takes to actually be in the mountains. And fortunately for me, I did. And since then, I've managed to climb all over the world. I've climbed Kilimanjaro on a number of occasions now, 4 times. I've climbed in the western side of Europe to the highest peak there, and then on the eastern side of Europe to the highest peak there, which sits in Russia, and then to the tallest peak in North America, the tallest peak in South America, Mount Kenya, Mount Meru, Mount Everest on 2 occasions, as you've heard, a couple of other small peaks in between. So as you can see, since my childhood, I've really loved this idea of getting high. But high in the positive sense, high in the sense that makes you feel satisfied when you've done it. So what happened between 1996 and now? Well, Kathy O'Dowd and I became the two females who were invited after the selection process to come onto the Everest expedition. And so this was that season when the South African flag, our new democratic flag, was planted on the summit of Everest for the very first time. We were the South Africans that got South Africa's flag to the summit of Mount Everest. And since then, of course, many other South Africans have gone to Everest, including myself on another occasion. So this is a moment I'll always be proud of. And I see that the sense of community and the thing of we're in this together, that's really highlighted tonight. And I think we must really focus on that during times like these, because our team actually started out as a fairly big team. We were 7 climbers, and then we were brought down to 3 climbers at the end, because 3 climbers defected, 1 climber died on the mountain, which is something I'll mention in a moment. But at the end, we ended up just being the 3 climbers, myself, Kathy, and Ian, who made it back to South Africa to come and tell the story. The 1996 expedition is what is so compelling, because after all of these years, outside of the Everest ascent of Edmund Hillary in 1953, the 1996 expedition season on Everest is the most talked about, most documented, most movies, books, and things have been written about. And it's because something cataclysmic happened on the mountain that year. I must just tell you before I show you the video that at that time, our dearly beloved Madiba was the patron of our expeditions. I had met him on a number of occasions. We were raising funds for the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. So there was a lot involved in climbing Everest. It wasn't just to get the flag. It was the pride of the nation. It was, we didn't want to let Madiba down. We didn't want to let the kids down who benefited from the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. So there was a lot hanging on this team's ability to get to the summit of Mount Everest. But as things happen, nothing is ever smooth sailing when you're climbing the biggest mountain on the world. And so in 1996, the biggest disaster up until that time that ever hit Everest hit us during that season. A movie was made about it a couple of years ago, and I'm going to show you the trailer of that movie now. Take a look.
You live in the middle of base camps. Acclimatize. Human beings are simply not built to function at the cruising altitude of 747. The waters will be literally dying. So the game is going to get you up to the top, down to the bottom. Before that happens. This is something, man. Do you know what it is? The rest of your life you'll be a guy that got to the top of Everest. Well, you talk like there's a cloud coming up for the valley. Yeah, this guy's getting nervous. You got a problem? Run, guys, run. Just go. No, not me. Come on. All right. You hear me, bro? You gotta get moving. I'm feeling like a witch.
So that was what happened in 1996 while our team was carrying the hopes and the dreams of South Africans and the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund and just about everybody up this mountain. And I distinctly remember because I turned 26 on the mountain at that time. And I was the youngest person there. And certainly at that point, because we were the only team, the first team from South Africa, also then the youngest South African to have done it. And of course, South Africa did not have a climbing history with high altitude climbing and stuff. So in a way, we were the least experienced team on this mountain during the storm. And it just so happened that the teams that felt like they were the most experienced and they had the most expertise, they were forging ahead. They were ignoring all kinds of warning signs. They were also not looking at the basics. And because we were so eager and so new to this thing, we were really being so careful and looking at all of the basics that one had to always look at. Things like avalanche danger. If a cloud comes in, what does it mean? If the wind suddenly turns, just every news report and weather report that was available, we looked at. So we had this kind of dichotomy between those guys who've been doing it for a long time and they've got the experience and they know what they're doing, and this little team of South African startups who were just in this territory for the first time. It was quite new for us. And as it happens, it's the experienced guys who had the greatest amount of disaster that happened during this time, because they came in with such a sense of importance and a sense of, we've done all of this before. So if you've seen the movie, I'd love to see your sense of how one cannot take for granted. It doesn't matter how well you think you know something, whether it's the property sector or entrepreneurship. We always have to think of the basics, because when these moments come, like COVID now, for me, COVID represents that big storm we had on the mountain. When that comes, we really need to be able to understand what basic steps need to be done to keep us alive. So without further ado, I want to give you a quick introduction to how this mountain is climbed. So Everest Base Camp is about 5,350 meters above sea level. So to put that in perspective, Kilimanjaro is 5,895 meters above sea level. So that'll give you an idea that the bottom of Everest is almost as high as the top of Kilimanjaro, but it takes about 12 days to walk to Everest Base Camp. Some people fly in, some people try to get onto some kind of mechanism, but you can't cycle there, you can't drive by car, you've actually just got to go on foot. It's the best way to acclimatize to get to base camp anyway. So once you're in base camp, it takes approximately a week or so to set up your campsite, and then you're going to navigate your way through the icefall to go check it out. The icefall is the most volatile section apart from the summit ridge on this mountain. So it's a glacier. It moves at about 2.5 centimeters per week, but it moves. And so it changes, every time you go up and down this mountain, you kind of come across something that's shifted or changed or fallen in or whatever. The icefall is that segment in the video where the guy goes across the ladder and then something almost happens to him. Now, there are 100 of those ladders going through the icefall, not just the one. And so it's really, really volatile and unpredictable. But then you come back to base camp and you spend about 2-3 days there, maybe 5 days if the weather's not that good. But then you try to get to Camp 1, you stay a night in Camp 1, you come back through the icefall and go to base camp for another 3 or 4 days. Once you've done that, this is the traditional way of climbing Everest, by the way. Once you've done that, you go up to Camp 1, sleep a night there. Now you try to get to Camp 2 to sleep a night there for 1 night or 2 nights, but this is at 6,500 meters. And in fact, there was a time when the experts used to say, nobody can ever climb above 6,500 meters because civilization stops at 6,000. So there's just no sign of permanent life above that level. But, we mountaineers like to push the envelope. So that's what we do. You sleep a night in Camp 2, then you come back to Camp 1. And then you come back down to base camp and you spend about 2 or 3 more days in base camp. And then once you've done that, you go up to Camp 1, Camp 2, you sleep a night there. Now you're heading to Camp 3. In Camp 3, you spend another night. That's at about 7,500 meters above sea level. You come back to Camp 2, sleep a night in Camp 2. all the way back through the icefall. You sleep a couple of nights in base camp, and I'm pretty sure some of you are pulling your hair out by now, like, why on earth would you be doing that? Doesn't it sound crazy that we go up and down the mountain like this? Yes, it does. But did you know that it's the only way to acclimatize yourself to the higher levels of the mountain? By the way, it takes approximately 2 months to climb Everest, and now you can see why. Did you know that your body is not made to just go straight from the altitude you're at right now to even 5,000 meters? You will literally go into a dizziness, and your brain will get too little oxygen, and it may make you faint. But the higher up you go, if you do that quickly, you can actually die within minutes. So what our bodies do is they can adjust, they can adapt. You can slowly introduce your body to less and less levels of oxygen. And the higher up you go, the slower you actually have to do it. And what this process does, this iterative journey of going up to a camp and down to base camp and up to a camp and down to base camp, what that allows us to do is to acclimatize our bodies, to make it used to the idea that it will have to do more with less. Okay, it's going to have to work harder with less oxygen. Didn't COVID feel a bit like that? You know, the whole pandemic period, we had to do so much more with so little resources, with so fewer things. And in some cases, companies couldn't keep on all their staff, and they had to have less staff and try to do more in order to survive. So for me, this is where the rubber hits the road with an Everest expedition and being a business as well. So now, the thing about climbing Everest is you're not just here to come up and down the slopes of the mountain, you're actually aiming for the summit, right? So once you've done your stint in base camp again, you can spend a whole week there, because now you've got to wait for the summit window. There's a weather window that happens, which is optimal to climb Mount Everest. And in fact, in that video, when you watch the movie, you'll see that the weather window is talked about. And we all thought we were heading up the summit. We all thought we're getting the weather window, but then something very quickly shifted on the mountain, and some teams managed to get down. Our team was lucky. We stayed in Camp 4. I managed to get down to base camp, but then the storm happened. And so that thing of being able to be resilient, to have a quick reflex, to have a quick response to the disaster that strikes, a lot of that comes from experience. A lot of that comes with the support that is given you by your community of climbers. And I remember after the big storm, our team came back down. We really sat down, and we hadn't been to the summit yet. And we asked ourselves, what do we do now? You know, a big disaster happened. A lot of teams cleared out of the mountain. It was just so shocking that this thing happened to all of us. And so we saw people leave the mountain. We saw them saying goodbye to us. And you know, now we had a decision. We're still sitting with our South African flag that's not made it to the summit of Everest. And so many people have died already. So now we've got to make a decision. Are we going to keep trying, or do we just come home and say to people, well, sorry, but that's what happened, you know, COVID happened, the pandemic happened, I cannot go any further. And so as a little team of inexperienced startups, we basically said, you know what, the weather looks like it's going to clear. We're going to give it one last shot. And that's what we did. Our own tiny little team said, let's head up the mountain again. Went up the mountain, got the flag to the summit. Kathy O'Dowd was the person to plant the flag. And that is how the South African flag made it to the summit of Mount Everest. The top of Everest is 8,850 meters above sea level. That's almost 9 kilometers straight up. And it takes approximately 2 months to climb. So that's the process of climbing the mountain. And as an entrepreneur myself, I can tell you that there's so much between just trying to grind your way through business and climbing a mountain that resonates with me. And I really hope that it resonates with you too. I'm going to get to my conclusion now, but just to say that in all the time, I've been so privileged to climb big, big mountains in the world, some of the highest ones on each of the continents. And in 2003, I was again on Mount Everest on the same route. And this time we were aiming to put the first South African on the top of the 7 summits. Now, the 7 summits is the highest peak on each of the continents. And of course, Kilimanjaro is ours here in Africa. We've got Mount Elbrus in Europe. We've got Mount McKinley in the US. We've got Aconcagua in South America, Mount Vinson in Antarctica. Irianjaya's got Mount Carstens, and we've also got then Mount Everest in Asia. So those are the 7 summits. And here I am again, finding myself on the same mountain, climbing the same slopes at the same time of year. And this time, I was invited to be on the team. I didn't have to go through a selection process. And I think that is so akin to what you have gone through as you're reaching this point of graduation. At first, you needed to sign up, right? You needed to motivate why you need to come into the incubator and why you should be selected to be on the program. And then you tested yourself and you went through all of this difficulty, basically climbing your own personal and business mountain. And now you're in a space where, coming out of all of this, I'm sure some of you have started to get your invitation. Please come and supply this. Please come and deliver this to us. And I think that is really the mark of success, when you're starting to get acknowledged for having the expertise, that you don't have to go through the selection process anymore. So what I found myself being at that stage, strangely enough, at that point in the history of climbing, I was still the only Black female climber. And I'm talking a number of years ago now. It's obviously changed, but there was a long time where it was just me, this little raisin in a rice pudding, as I always call it. But you know, part of it is really to trailblaze. Part of it is to find your niche and to say, this is the thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to lay the trail for others. Because you know, tonight you are graduating, but you're laying the trail for those who are also coming into the program after you. So just in a quick nutshell, what I want to say with this slide, it looks like a very typical business, a financial slide or a growth trajectory slide. But what I want you to see is in the colors of people ascending this mountain. Not everyone's journey looks the same. We might start at the same point. We might have the same outcome in mind. But as you can see by the colors, some people are sometimes together and sometimes not. Sometimes some turn around and they just can't do it anymore. Some only get to a certain point on the mountain. But what you must acknowledge is the process. The tackling part is the important part for me, because that's where you're really learning how to do things. That's where you're really learning the skills and the accomplishments that accompany the process. So don't get frustrated with the journey. It looks different for everyone. And that comparison that you're making with someone else, throw it out the window, because you know, everyone's trajectory is different and our lanes are different as well. So just to summarize, for me, climbing Everest and climbing big mountains and running businesses and trying to navigate ourselves through the pandemic has been an incredible thing. How do we navigate ourselves? So in conclusion, we make the vision clear, that clear idea of what I'm doing. The question to answer is, what do I want? What do I want for my business in the short term, medium term, and long term, as the other speakers have already said. But then we need to ask why. You know, if I'm just doing a business, when I worked in incubators with other entrepreneurs, I'd ask them, why are you in business? And they'd say, to make money. And I'd be like, why don't you rob a bank? It's easier. Okay, I don't take that lesson to heart. But the point is, what's the purpose behind running this business? And why am I doing it for me, but why am I doing it for broader society as well? And one of the things that we know in these big expeditions is that risk is a factor. There are moments when you just cannot keep going, where you just want to give up. And those are the moments when we start telling each other what we've accomplished together. What have we done? How did we get through stuff? You know, we need to remind ourselves of how tough we are and how inspiring we are. But you also know that when you show up, you gotta get up. You sign up, you gotta show up, you gotta get up. So for me, how I extrapolate that is, you know, I'm a female climber, and oftentimes people ask me, oh, but can't you just give, when your pack is too heavy, can't you just give that to the male climbers? I go, no, they've got their own packs to carry, you know. I can't say, well, this guy's bigger than me, he can carry 5 kilograms extra and I can carry lighter. No, I signed up. So the tough part of it is when I can say to myself, because I signed up for this, I'm willing to do what it takes to get through. If my pack is heavy, just to give an idea, when I climbed in North America, in fact, in Alaska, I had 48 kilograms to carry up that mountain, and we had a 21-day expedition. You sign up, you get up, you show up. That's the rule. But also, you cannot forget to have fun. I mean, you know, what is life without a little bit of fun? And figure out what that is in your business culture. Every business is different, but don't forget this part. It's vitally important for team morale, especially when the going gets tough. So I'm going to play us out and just give you a sense that, you know, mountains are difficult, but so is business. Business is difficult. And it's how we respond to the difficulties, how we respond to those incredible ice walls, and how we respond to the storms that come and the avalanches that hit us. And if you can stand up after all of that and say, I'm still in business, then you really, really deserve to be here tonight. So thank you, Property Point, for the opportunity to share my story. I hope this was inspiring. Please leave some comments in the chat box there. I'll hang around a little bit longer to see you guys celebrate. But yeah, thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and good luck in your business.
Thank you so much, Deshawn. Wow, what an inspiring keynote address. I think I really, really like that last point. If you sign up, show up, right? Don't get shaky when the going gets tough. I think that that's something, though, that we don't have to tell to a lot of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, by their very nature, are the kind of people who are, you know, have a lot of chutzpah, I think that's the word. But if you sign up, show up. Thank you so much, Deshawn. And as you so correctly said at the beginning of your address, you are a friend of Property Point. We have had so many incredible moments where you have shared your story and motivated entrepreneurs. And this was another one of those moments. And I think everybody is just feeling a little bit more energized to take that one more step. If anybody was thinking of maybe throwing in the towel, I think that definitely motivated us to take that one more step. Hannes?
Yes, T, I totally agree with you. We are now going to go into the awards ceremony, and everybody was waiting for that. And the awards will work as follows. We will first announce all of the special awards, which include the Innovation Award, the Job Creation Award, as well as the Brand Ambassador Award.
These awards will be followed by announcing the overall winners awards, which includes the runner-up as well as the winner. The winners or the overall winners will have a cash prize of 120,000 Rand. The runner-up will receive 50,000 Rand, and the winner will receive 70,000 Rand. These monies were a combination of a commitment paid in by the businesses themselves, which was then matched and topped up by Attacq. Businesses, please be ready. If you are a winner, be ready to smile, to wave, and to show us that excitement. We will be taking a screenshot or a virtual photo of that moment. And to our colleagues at Attacq, our partners at Attacq, also please be ready to smile when we call out your name. Our technical team is working behind the scenes to make sure that they're going to pull up your photo, turn on your microphone, etc. if necessary. When we do the awards, we will ask just for a few words of congratulations from our team at Attacq. Hannes, are you ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it, T. Let's do this. Now, the first award we are giving out is the Award of Innovation. This award is given to a company that has implemented a marketing model underpinning their company solution. Here we're looking at innovations that not only address a need and solve a problem, but also seize an opportunity and create a new market or industry. And through the Property Point work, we are interested in the overall method and development of the concept and the opportunity. This company used the principles of design thinking, behavioral science, and positive deviance. The craft creative campaign seeks to address social ills and inspire the nation. And the following weights apply to judging criteria. A degree of innovation is 50%, service delivery 20%, potential impact 20%, potential for sustainability and scale 10%. And the winner is...
Virtual drum roll.
Taste my waffle. Congratulations, Jessie and Caletso Yende in Cape Town. All of the best.
Great
Congratulations.
job. The next special award will be given out is the Job Creation Award. This award is given to a business that demonstrates exceptional performance in creating new, permanent or permanent seasonal jobs. This was a quantitative evaluation of the growth and creation of new jobs by the company. The company that is going to be receiving this award today managed to create 40 full-time equivalent jobs and, more importantly, also managed to sustain these jobs during the COVID-19 Level 5 lockdown. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner for the Job Creation Award is Lasaka Group. Laika Sasman from Lasaka Group.
Laika, congratulations and well done.
Okay, now the last of the special awards. This is the Brand Ambassador Award. This award is going to the individual who is the face of the brand during their time on the program. Ideally, this candidate is an influencer in their own right, and they use already established networks and relationships to share the positive experience that they have had with Property Point. This particular company has always been an advocate for the program. In fact, we even do some work with this particular company, but they have represented us both on local and international stages. And even when they are not on behalf of Property Point, they always take the opportunity to send a shout out. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner for the Brand Ambassador Award is Green Design, Very Shaba.
Very congratulations. Well
Congratulations.
done.
I will now call upon Mr. Danny van Niekerk to say a few words of congratulations to our special award winners. Hi, Danny.
Hi. Hello.
Yes, Danny.
Hi, Danny. Go ahead and share your congratulations message with the special award winners.
Hi, everyone. This has been a wonderful evening so far. To the special awards winners, Jessie and Caletso, Laika and Vera, congratulations. This has been an exceptional journey with yourselves, and we cannot wait to continue our relationship with you guys, and all the best for your future. As I said, congratulations for the hard work. I think we can all give them a round of applause in our own little space. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's get some hands in the air for the virtual round of applause.
Whoa, well done.
And for
well
our
done.
virtual picture that I'm sure is being, should we wait for the picture? Okay. All right. Mr. Steyn?
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now go into the announcement of the best performing businesses. This award goes to the outstanding businesses that best demonstrate exceptional financial returns, strong growth, job creation, market leadership in the cohort. The criteria was set at 50% quantitative and 50% qualitative attributes of the business. The panelists looked for evidence of entrepreneurial drive, aspects of personal mastery, and key learning areas which contributed 20%. The quantitative business achievements and growth over the 2 years focused on revenue growth, job creation, and contracts awarded. Lastly, the program managers, as the custodian of the businesses on the cohort, were afforded the opportunity to score the companies out of 30% based on participation on the program, response to data requests, and the implementation of interventions in their respective companies.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner for the top performing business runner-up is
Line Capital, Green
Green Design is a multi-award winning engineering consulting firm that specializes in green buildings, because you know that Africa is the most vulnerable continent when it comes to climate change. And so this means that this is everyone's problem, and buildings are one of the best ways to solve this. 90% of businesses across the continent are SMEs. So this means that we are really the center of the green transition on this continent and across the world. So I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I remember just resigning in 2015 because I felt like there was more when it comes to engineering. I had 3 months salary, a LinkedIn profile and a car, and I cashed out my pension at the age of 26. And I was just like, I'm gonna try this out and see what happens. The first year of being an entrepreneur was so difficult. I didn't know how to do a business plan. I didn't know how to get clients. No one teaches you this is how you get a client. They'll teach you Pythagoras, but they won't teach you that. The first 3 months, I remember just speaking at a lot of conferences. And then from there, we ended up getting a client in September. So remember, I had 3 months salary. September now, you know, I'm dragging through. And then by December, that's when we signed our first multi-million rand contract. And from there, it's just gotten better. When you enter the building sector and property sector, you hear about Property Point. Everyone hears about Property Point and you kind of aspire to be a part of it. It was literally the second year of us doing the business. And we were just like, you know what, just apply. Let's see what happens. And I remember sitting there and being like, this is the worst interview. We're not a great company. But Hannes saw something in green and in green engineering. I would say that being a part of the Attacq Property Point program has been so significant. It's very difficult to get clients, specifically in this niche field. I just remember wanting to quit. I think every month an entrepreneur wants to quit. Like you start thinking, maybe if I just submit my CV and make this a side hustle. And Hannes is that person who's like, no, just keep going because you're making a difference. The more I was out there, the more the internal structures were fine, the more we just started to get a lot more projects, and one project leads to another and leads to another. I think one of the biggest lessons I learned from the Attacq Property Point program was to tell my story more. So a lot of the times we'll come into a room and say, this is what I do. And someone was like, no, go back and say, this is who you are and this is why you do it. And then this is what you do. People do business with people.
Very Shaba. Congratulations to you for being the best performing business runner-up. I'd like to call on Melt Hammond to please just say a few words to congratulate. Oh, is it Mrs. Jackie van der Kerk? My apologies. Jackie, won't you please come on stage and say a few words to congratulate Very?
Certify a lot of buildings together in the future and keep going, and we're very proud. Once again, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Jackie, and congratulations once more to you, Very. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to move on to announcing the top achieving business in this cohort. As per the description given by Mr. Steyn, by Hannes, it is not an easy achievement. We do not take it lightly. It is a rigorous program. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, the winner, top performing business is...
My name is Brené Mporo, otherwise known as Lehlogonolo. I'm currently the CEO of ABV Construction. We offer building maintenance, renovation and construction services to the corporate, commercial, retail, industrial and mining sectors. My father started the business in 1986. But as we sometimes like to banter with him and say, you know, he was just a bakkie builder. He wasn't really running a business. You know, and bakkie builders, it's just slang for smaller building contractors. I mean, no disrespect by it whatsoever. So 2012 holds our actual registration, but the experience of the business dates all the way back to 1986 because we still have some of the guys that my dad started with in the business today. And my dad sits as a non-executive chairman on the board. When we took the business over, it was purely in the residential sector. So strategies changed. We decided to turn it into a commercial business. From 2012, I managed to grow the business by a minimum of 300-400% year on year. I call myself a hunter salesperson, right? And then I came across there's this whole link to Property Point. It was actually the first ED or SD program that I'd encountered. So I had no idea what it was about. And then I was invited. So I completed the form. About a month later, I got a phone call for an interview. I went for an interview there with Hannes, and I got rejected. Hannes said he doesn't feel that our business needs Property Point. And I was like, but I'm here. I need it, you know. And that was the start of the journey. Sure, what a ride it's been. It hasn't been easy. I'm not going to lie. There's been some really, really challenging modules. You know, entrepreneurship is a lonely space. And having Property Point there is like having an older brother who's able to talk to you when no one's willing to talk to you. Yeah, Hannes for me, he was God sent. I'm very close with Hannes. I feel he's someone that I can talk to about almost anything. I feel like he understands small business challenges. He just gets it. I was actually driving down to Burgersfort to our branch there the other day in Limpopo. Limpopo. Hey, my BD people will kill me. I took a video, and in the video I said, here's a video of the entrepreneur and everyone that's with him during the tough times. And I was the only person in the car. When you're really going through the trenches and the tough times, you know, entrepreneurs are alone. Yeah, you know, if you're on an ESD or an SD program, you need to be patient, you know, and don't go onto one of these programs because you're hungry for work. This isn't a place for hunger satisfaction of projects, you know. This is a place of learning. This is a place of sober thoughts. This is a place of strategic thinking. This is a place of creativity. This is a place of sharing. Think of it as your friends in business that you wouldn't have otherwise had anywhere else.
Amazing. Congratulations to you. Well done on taking this journey and coming through on the other side strong. Melt, I see that you're already up on the screen. Please do share a few words to congratulate Brinny.
Fortunately, you said a few words. So I'm just going to say from a BBB to a winner. And the BBB is Brinny, Bakkie Builder to a winner. Well done.
Great, thank you, Melt. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to all of our winners this evening. It's been an exceptional and exciting evening. Hannes, I think you were tearing up there at the end when Brinny was sending you all of that love and when Vieri was sending you all of that love. And it was so beautiful to see because that's why we do what we do. It is not about us and it's not about the glitz and glamour. It is about the lives that are changed and the entrepreneurs that are able to reach their dreams because you are there and because the team is there.
It's all about building together, climbing together, building together, and that's what it's about, togetherness. Together we're climbing forward.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Woo. Please do raise your glasses, pour some champagne. Some champagne. We're going to have a toast, Hannes, to the businesses that have just graduated on the program. I'm going to invite my team over to social distantly come and raise a glass with us and cue the music.
Thank you. Whoa. Enjoy. Let's celebrate together. This is great moments. Thank you so much for everybody that participated. Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate. Enjoy. Thank you.
There you go. Take it. So I'm the champagne pourer. Anyone else?
Yeah, put it so close together, guys.
Well done, well done, well done. Let me get some champagne. Oh, just in time, babe. Get decorated. Well, put there. Just take the bottom.
Where's the logo? Oh!
I